Okay, it's nice to see everyone awake at 9 a.m. and happy. Hello. Hey, hey, hi, hello. Okay. All right. We have about 254 students joining us this morning. So good morning, and I'm happy to be here with you all to talk about immigration, my favorite topic. Let's go ahead and get started, and let's jump right into the presentation here. Whoops. Get out of that. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to UC San Diego. I understand that we have a mix of students today. We might have some undergraduate students as well as some graduate students. We also have some of students joining us today on a F-1 student visa, and we also have those joining us on a J-1 student visa. So we're going to cover both topics today and really address some things that apply to both undergraduate and graduate students. Okay. All right, let's go here. My name is Pauline de Guzman, and I'm an international student advisor here at the International Students and Programs Office. You may recognize my name. I might have issued and also signed some of your Form I-20s. And so it's nice to finally meet some of you and interact with you here on campus. I do hope to see you and meet you in person, either here during walk-in advising or appointments, or at our weekly coffee hours, which we are hosting throughout this week, Monday through Friday from 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. So please come by and say hello to me so I can meet you. Okay, a little bit about our office. Not only do we process your immigration documents, such as your Form I-20 or your Form DS-2019, we really help you to navigate the ins and outs of adjusting to living on campus and living in the U.S. in general. Okay. And of course, we are always your home away from home. So there are no questions that we will turn away. If we don't know the answer to any of the questions that you have, we will certainly point you in the right direction or connect you with those on campus who might have the right answer for you. Okay, so please feel free to come in and talk to us and ask us any questions that you may have, any at all. You won't have this today because we are not meeting in person, but you're welcome to stop by our front desk at any time this week or the next week or any of the weeks to follow, and you can pick up this immigration document envelope. It's a nice, clear envelope for all new students where you can keep your immigration documents safe. All of our current students now, all 10,000 of them, have one of these, and it's a great way for them to really keep everything in order. So please stop by whenever you get a chance and pick one of these up. Inside of your document folder, you will also be given an emergency card. This is great to keep handy inside of your wallet. It addresses general phone numbers that you will need to call in case of a true emergency. So it's nice to have handy if those situations do come up. Okay. Throughout our presentation, we will have a series of myths videos. So these videos were designed to kind of address very common questions that international students have while studying here in the US. So we'll watch a few of these, and if you think that the student in the video, if you think that his thoughts are true, then I will ask you to click the raise your hand button at the very bottom if you agree with him or her. If you don't agree with the student in the video, then leave your hands down, okay? So I want to see a show of hands to see who thinks these videos are correct. Okay, so let's watch our first one together now.
Immigration documents like my I-20 and DS-2019 if I get updated ones.
Okay, so what do you all think? If you think that this is true, you can throw away all of your documents if you get updated ones. Go ahead and raise your hand. Okay, so by the looks of this video, it says that this is false, okay, which is correct. This is false. So for the 5 or 4 of you who raised your hand, remember that, okay, the hands are going down. Very good. So remember that if you ever receive updated immigration documents, either from our office or from the US government, always keep it. Don't throw anything away, okay? And we want to make sure that you have everything that you need in the future. Like, for example, if you apply for a different type of visa type, maybe the work visa in the future, or you apply for some sort of immigration benefit, such as OPT or academic training, the US government might ask you for documentation from your past programs and, from the past years that you've been here in the US studying. So you definitely don't want to throw away any documents, just so that if they are needed in the future, you have them ready. Okay, and again, come pick up that document folder from us. They're of course free, and we are happy to give them to you to keep your documents safe. Okay, so we'll see a lot more of these myths throughout our presentation, so keep an eye out. Alrighty. So on the topic of your immigration documents, let's review them today. Let's see a show of hands. Who has done their document self-check? All right, we have a good amount of students. Very good. Okay, if you haven't, don't worry. We'll do one together today. Go ahead and take out your passport, your electronic Form I-94, as well as your Form I-20 if you're an F-1 student, or your Form DS-2019 if you're a J-1 student. Go ahead and take those out. Make sure that they're in front of you. We'll look at each document today to make sure you know what each document is, why it's important to make sure each one is updated, and specific things to pay attention to. Okay. The Form I-94 is a document that you should have printed or kept a PDF of, and you'll only have one really, or an updated one if you enter the U.S. If you entered the U.S. recently. We'll go over what the Form I-94 is as well. I see some questions here. Alrighty. Okay, so if you forget everything that I say today about how to keep your immigration documents handy, you can always visit itravel.ucsd.edu, and it has travel information on there. It tells you on that website, itravel.ucsd.edu, what you need when you're traveling inside the U.S. Maybe you're traveling to neighboring countries such as Mexico or Canada, and of course what you're going to need to re-enter the U.S. Okay, so that's a great resource. Also on the clear envelopes that I hope you all come and pick up, there are reminders on that envelope which tell you exactly what you need to do to check. So when should you check all of your immigration documents? Do you need to wake up every morning and check it every day? No, definitely not. But you want to make sure that you check your documents every time you enter the U.S. in F-1 or J-1 status, okay? Because each time you enter the U.S., you will get a new I-94. You may also have a new visa or a new new U.S. address. So you want to make sure that these things are always up to date each time you enter the U.S. All right. So we'll go over each document now and how to access them. Okay. So the first is, okay, so here's the clear folder at the very bottom. When you do get yours, there's a document self-check, and it will remind you of these documents and what to do. So don't worry if for some reason you are too sleepy to remember anything I say today. Okay, passport and U.S. visa, your Form I-20, your electronic I-94, and then of course your U.S. address and emergency contact. So let's take a look at your passport now. So your passport is issued by your home government, right? And it's your main form of identification while you're here in the United States. So your passport, you need to make sure that it is always valid for at least 6 months into the future, okay? Don't wait until you're about 3 or 4 months out from that expiration date to renew it. You need to make sure that at all times it is valid for at least 6 months into the future. Also keep in mind how long it takes to actually renew a passport. Okay, it can take a couple of weeks, maybe a month or so. So about 6 to 7 months before your passport expires, go ahead and make sure that you have applied for a renewal of your passport. Your passport can be renewed at your home consulate or government or embassy here inside or outside of the US. Okay, so wherever you are, if you're inside the US or outside the US, you can renew your passport. Now your visa, your US visa, or your F-1 or J-1 visa, it should be inside of your passport, okay? So this visa here, let's take a look at what your visa should say. It will either say F-1 or J-1, depending on your visa type, right? And it should also show entries and expiration date. So these three are important to take a look at. Make sure that your visa type is correct. If you're here with a Form I-20, then you should have a form, or you should have an F-1 visa. If you are here on a Form DS 2019, then you should have a J-1 visa. Okay, entries. What does entries mean? If you see the word M, or the letter M, then it means that you are eligible to enter the US multiple times, or M, multiple times during the validity of your visa. If this says S, if entry says S, then it means that during the validity of your visa, you may only enter the US a single time, one time. Okay, so it's important to take a look at the number of entries so that you're aware of how many times you're able to enter the US during the validity of your visa. Now the expiration date. This is something that a lot of students ask about. The expiration date. Is it okay to remain in the US after my visa expires, or do I have to leave right away? Okay, the answer actually is yes, it's okay to stay in the US if your visa expires. Okay, and I'll explain why. Think of your F-1 or J-1 visa as a key. So when you're coming home and you need to come into your house, you only need the key to enter the house, correct? But once you're inside, you don't need that key anymore. So it's okay to just leave it on the counter and let it be. The same applies to your F-1 or J-1 visa. You need your F-1 or J-1 visa to be valid each time you enter the US, okay? But if it expires while you're here, you are okay to remain in the US with an expired visa as long as you are maintaining your F-1 or J-1 status. And we'll talk about what maintaining your F-1, J-1 status means. But in summary, it means that you're following all the rules. You have an active Form I-20 or Form DS 2019, and you're following the rules for your certain visa type, okay? So let's go ahead and come back here. What happens if your F-1 or J-1 visa expires? How will you renew it? Okay, note, you can only renew your visa outside of the US. There is no way to renew your visa inside of the US. Okay, all right. And again, just to our point, yes, you can go ahead and remain in the US after your F-1 or J-1 visa expires, as long as you're maintaining your status. All right. Okay, let's watch another myth.
I should always note the program end date listed on my Form I-20 or Form DS 2019. If I don't complete my program by this date, I need to apply for an extension before this date, or I can face problems with my immigration status.
All right, what do we think? Should you extend your program end date before the date listed? Okay, we have 75, 80 hands. What's the answer? True. Okay, wonderful. For all of those who raised your hand, you are correct. So let's take a look at your Form I-20 and your Form DS 2019 now. Okay, so if you're a J-1 student, you will have a Form DS 2019, which is shown here on the left. And if you are on an F-1 visa, if you're an F-1 student, you'll have a Form I-20, which is shown here on the right. So on the Form DS 2019, you'll see in this red box, this is where your program dates are for Part 3, Form Covers Period. Okay, so you'll see in this teal box that your program end date will be outlined here. Okay, for F-1 students, it'll be in the middle under Program of Study, and it will show you your program start as well as end date. All right. So go ahead and make sure that you know where those are on your documents now. Take your finger and point at those, okay? So again, to reiterate that myth, you need to extend your program end date before the date that's listed if you need more time to complete your program. So keep in mind that this end date, it's an expected end date, meaning you may actually finish your program faster. You may finish 1 quarter earlier and graduate earlier. So this program end date is completely estimated, okay? Generally, undergraduate students are given 5 years to complete their program. We have our master students, depending on your program, it might be 1 or 2 years. And then our PhD students are given about 6 or 7 years to complete their program. But you never know. If we have any PhD students here today with us, you could be here 6, 7, 8, 9 years. So and just really keep in mind that this end date we can either shorten or extend, okay? But what is important to remember is if you need more time, it is not automatically extended. You need to come in and apply for an extension, okay? So what happens if you are completing earlier? So if my program end date currently says June 30th, 2020, that's next summer. But I finish 1 quarter earlier. I finish in March of 2020. Does that mean that I can just hang out for 3 months because my I-20 is valid for another 3 months? That's definitely incorrect. You cannot stay here even if you have more time on your I-20 if your true program end date really is prior, okay? So if you're completing your program before, then we will automatically shorten the date to your actual end date, okay? Only if you need more time on your Form I-20 and your program end date will you need to come in and make sure that you extend it before that date, okay? So yes, of course, work with your college or your graduate coordinators and departments to really plan your program out, and so you can anticipate, oh, what if I want to pick up a minor, or what if I want a double major? You'll understand the program requirements, the number of units you need to take, and if you need more or less time on your Form I-20. Okay, so keep this date in mind. So after your actual program end date, after the last date that you take classes here at UC San Diego, or maybe your comprehensive exam date or defense date, after that date, okay, you are given a grace period. A grace period is a time for you to really think about what do you want to do next? What do you want to do after you've completed your program? F-1 students are given a 60-day grace period, and J-1 students are given a 30-day grace period. So during this time, you may choose to leave the U.S., maybe pursue employment back home. You can also apply for employment authorization here in the U.S. to work after your program ends, okay? And we'll talk about employment a little bit later in the presentation. You might also want to maybe transfer to another institution, perhaps after you complete your bachelor degree with UC San Diego, you'd like to pursue a master's, perhaps with another institution. So that's transferring your Form I-20 or Form DS-2019 from UC San Diego to another institution. So a lot of students do that. You can also change to a different education level here at UC San Diego. So meaning you complete your bachelor here with us, you're accepted into a master's program here at UC San Diego, and we can change your I-20 so that it will reflect that new education level, okay? And of course, you can also change or adjust non-immigrant status. This is most common for individuals perhaps who are getting married, who are adjusting from student status, which is a non-immigrant visa, to a green card, which is a resident visa. So there are certain changes that you can make during this grace period, but it's important to just remember that the grace period will start automatically after your actual program end date. Okay. Let's watch another myth here.
I'm excited to travel back home this summer. Before I plan to go back to the US, I need to make sure I've got my passport, valid F-1 visa, and my Form I-20 with a valid travel signature to re-enter the US.
Okay, what do you all think? Are those 3 documents what you need to enter the US? Okay, I see a lot of hands. Ooh, lots of hands, lots of hands. Okay, so for all of you who raised your hands, very good, that is true. Let's talk about some travel requirements now. Okay. All right. So travel documents. Again, if you visit itravel.ucsd.edu, you can see requirements for traveling inside, outside of the US, and to neighboring countries such as Mexico and Canada. But something that we'd like to point out on your Form I-20 or your Form DS 2019 is something called the travel signature. So for my J-1 students, take a look at the bottom right-hand corner of your DS 2019. Under travel validation by a responsible officer, there should be a date as well as a signature, okay? This is your travel signature. On the Form I-20 for my F-1 students, it's on the second page of your Form I-20, and it will be under travel endorsements, okay? So I might have signed it there with a specific date. Okay, so it's important to remember that this travel signature will remain valid for 1 year from the date of signature. Okay, so if the date of your signature, let's say, is June 30th, 2019, then that means it is valid until June 30th of 2020. It is valid for 1 year. Okay, it needs to be valid at the time that you re-enter the US. So let's say that you are traveling home this winter break. Okay, you're departing the US in December, okay, December 2019. That still falls within the 1 year validity of your travel visa. So you do not need a new travel signature. Okay, however, let's say you decide to stay home, or you decide to stay here in the US during winter break, and maybe you want to travel next year. You want to travel maybe in July or August of next year, 2020. So if your signature says June 2019, but you're not re-entering the US until August of 2020, that is past the 1 year validity. So before you depart the US for vacation in next summer, you want to make sure that you have a travel signature from us, okay? Again, that website is itravel.ucsd.edu if you want to learn more about travel requirements for international students. So what happens if you need a new travel signature, okay, before you leave the US? What happens? What should you do? So likewise, the same way that you requested your Form I-20 or Form DS 2019 from ISPO, you'll also log into our online document request system, the iPortal. Simple to remember, it's iportal.ucsd.edu. You'll go ahead and you'll log in with your single sign-on, and then you'll find the correct request type. It's usually going to say travel signature. And then you can select how you'd like it mailed to you, or if you want to come and pick it up in person at our office before you travel. So just make sure that you remember to request a new travel signature before you depart the US if you need a new one, okay? Alrighty, so I know I have a lot of questions about this Form I-94. What is this? Why do I need one? Why is it important? Where do I get one? Where can I find a printer? Okay, so let's talk about the electronic Form I-94. This document records your travel and exit and basically your travel history here in the US. It tells us each time that you enter the US, what status you entered in, okay, and the date you are eligible to remain in the US until with that status, okay? So in order to access your Form I-94, and you'll need to do this each time you enter the US. So if I have any students with us today who are still outside of the US and you're not entering the US to begin your program until a little bit closer to the quarter start date, you won't have one of these yet, okay? You'll only have one once you enter the US and pass through customs. So once you pass through Border Patrol, then you'll be able to generate one usually within 24 hours or so. It's pretty quick. So you'll visit i94.cbp.dhs.gov. It'll ask you to input some information on your passport. So you'll need your passport to enter your personal information as well as your passport number. And then it will generate a PDF that looks like this. It'll say most recent I-94. It will show you the class of admission or your visa type that you entered in, so F-1 or J-1. It will also show you an admit until date, okay? And it should always say D/S. If your class of admission is incorrect, if you entered it in an F, but it says you're on a J, or it says you entered it in a completely different visa type, you'll need to come in and see us so we can give you instructions on how to correct this, because this is a very important document that shows what status you hold while you're here in the US. Okay, admit until date. This should always say D/S. If it says an actual date, let's say it says September 19, 2019, that means that you need to depart the US tomorrow. Okay, so we definitely don't want to see a date here. We want to see the letters D/S, which stands for duration of status. That means that while you're maintaining your Form I-20 or your Form DS 2019, you're admitted and able to remain here. Okay, and of course, make sure that your last name, first name, and biographical information are correct as well. So that, in summary, is what your Form I-94 is. If you have any issues, there are ways to fix this document if you know, for some reason it is incorrect. Keep in mind the individuals who enter this information, they are human. So when you pass through Border Patrol, California Border Patrol, they might have entered it incorrectly, causing an error, but not to worry, there are ways to fix it. Come and talk to us if you have an issue. Otherwise, just remember, generate a new I-94 each time you enter the US. All right. Okay. And lastly, Triton link address. Within 10 days of your move, if you ever move, let's say you live on campus now, but next year you're going to find a roommate and you're going to have a great time finding an apartment off campus and be independent. You need to make sure that you update your local address in Triton Link, okay? This feeds through our immigration system, and it will also be reflected on your Form I-20 or Form DS 2019, even though you don't see it, even though you won't see it on the front page of any of your documents, it is in the system. So it's really important that you keep your US address updated at all times, okay? You can go to your Triton link. Under My Triton Link Tools, you'll see a link for addresses. So change this within 10 days if you ever move. Okay. And one last thing to highlight with addresses. Under My Triton link, you will have the opportunity to input your emergency contact. In the case of a true emergency, if we ever need to contact anyone on your behalf, it is important, it is so crucial that we have this information, okay? It can be anyone that you trust or you would like for us to contact on your behalf. It can be somebody back home, maybe mom or dad or family. It can also be someone that you know here in the US. So please make sure that you have your emergency contact information updated within Triton Link. Okay, so that's a quick plug on our immigration documents. Again, if you forget everything that I said today, don't worry. You can visit itravel.ucsd.edu and review your documents, or come in and talk to us anytime if you have any questions. Okay, so we're going to jump right into important rules. Okay, so when I mentioned earlier, you can go ahead and you can stay in the US even after your F-1 or your J-1 visa expires, as long as you're maintaining your status. So what does maintaining your status mean? Okay, maintaining status really means that you're following all of the rules outlined by the US government to maintain your F-1 or your J-1 status. So we're going to take a look at some of those rules now. Can I see a show of hands? Who has completed the iTriton? Wonderful. Okay, there's a lot of you. Great. So if you have not logged in and taken the iTriton online training, you can still do it. It's located at itriton.ucsd.edu, and you'll have until October 4th to complete this training. It is a required online training for all international students, and what this really is if you take a look at the very top, number 1, meet ISPO, number 2, immigration documents. And along this white path, it really outlines kind of the life cycle of an international student. So you might have certain questions, and we've addressed them here in the iTriton for you to learn more in the order you might have these questions. Okay, so you'll see at the very bottom here, it will go over working in the US, graduating, applying for OPT and post-completion training, and then last at the very bottom there, grace periods. What do you do after you graduate? So we encourage everyone before, of course, October 4th and anytime throughout your program to access the iTriton. Feel free to use it as a resource to really brush up on any immigration regulations and rules for maintaining your status if you're unsure. Okay. We'll go over 5 of these modules today. The first one is maintaining your F-1 or J-1 status. Very brief. We'll just talk about what that generally means, okay? And then if you see on the the left side of this map here, this is a map of San Diego. If you haven't already recognized that, you'll see our seals, you see some boba and some ramen, Padres Stadium there. In the ocean, though, you'll see a couple of caution signs, right? And some sharks. So I might refer to these caution signs modules as sharks because these are the top 4 reasons that international students have issues with their immigration status, okay? So these are the 4 things you want to avoid. And so letting you know now might help you to be mindful of them in the future during your program so that you don't do these things, okay? So let's jump right in. Maintaining your status. Okay. All right. What does that mean? What does that mean? What does maintaining my status means? In summary, you need to enroll full time. So international students are required to enroll in 12 units in the fall, winter, and spring quarter. During the summer, it's not mandatory. It's a break or vacation period, so you don't need to enroll full time. But the minimum requirement for full-time enrollment is 12 units. Okay, in order, or if you ever need to take less than 12 units, it's important that you come and talk to us first and apply for a specific application. So we'll get into that a bit later. Keeping your I-20 or DS 2019 updated. So things like making sure you extend your program end date before that end date if you need more time. That is, I cannot stress how important it is to remember that. We have so many students who really fall out of status and it affects them in such a negative way if they really just forget that program end date. So it's really important, okay? It's not automatic. Again, come and see us if you need more time on your I-20 or DS 2019 before that date, okay? Maintaining your academic standing. That means getting good grades, okay? Doing well, making sure that you're doing your own work, you're not cheating, or engaging in any type of dishonest academic conduct. So you wanna make sure that you don't cheat. And then lastly, following US federal rules and regulations. So let's go over a couple of these now, and then I think maybe you'll enjoy seeing our sharks a little bit. Let's take a look. Alrighty. Okay, so module number 17 is cheating and academic integrity. Okay, what does academic integrity mean? I wonder. So in summary, academic integrity means that you are doing your own work. You're being honest. You're not cheating. Okay? Let's take a look at a myth now.
My friend and I studied together. It's okay to submit the exact same assignment and paperwork, which you probably can.
Okay, what do you think? Can you and your friend do the exact, if you study together, can you submit the exact same paper? No, that's definitely false. So if you and your friends study together, it's totally okay. That's okay for you to all get together, make sure that you review assignments, do assignments together and so forth. In many of your classes, you might be assigned group projects where there's one project and there are multiple students working on that one assignment together. However, there are rules behind academic integrity that make sure that despite group projects, despite you being encouraged to study together with friends and classmates, that you're still able to submit your own work, okay? So visit our academic integrity office. They have great resources on how to make sure that, that you're excelling with integrity. At aio.ucsd.edu. If you're ever in doubt, always do your own work. All right. Okay, our next myth here, dropping to less than 12 units, myth number 3. All right. And another myth.
International students must enroll in 12 units each academic year. There are some reasons for taking less than 12 units, but getting a bad grade isn't one of them.
Okay, what do you think? You can drop below 12 units, but getting a bad grade is not a reason to be able to drop. Is that true? Very good. Okay, so many of you got this right. There are some exceptions to dropping below 12 units, but getting a bad grade is definitely not one of them. So let's talk about some of those exceptions now, okay? Take a look at your screen. You'll see a snapshot of a student's Triton link, and it shows that they are enrolled in 12 units, okay? So just to clarify for those students, being waitlisted for a course does not count towards this 12 unit, okay? You need to be enrolled and reflected in Triton Link as enrolled in 12 units or more in order to maintain full-time enrollment, okay? So dropping below 12 units, let's say you currently have 20 units. You are taking a lot of classes, 20 units, and you want to drop a class. It's okay for you to drop a class if after dropping a course, you will still have those 12 units, okay? So if you have 12 or more units after dropping a class, that's okay. Only if you drop a class and it will take you below 12 units. So let's say you have 11 units left after you drop a class, or 10 or 9 or 8 or anything less than 12 units. Before you're eligible to drop, you need to make sure that you apply through the iPortal for a reduced course load, or basically permission to drop below 12 units. Okay, let's talk about some exceptions now for why you are eligible to drop. Okay, so the first is your last quarter. It's your last quarter, you are getting ready to graduate, and you only need one class left. Of course, it's okay for you to take one class or maybe 3 or 4 units if it's your true final last quarter at UC San Diego. Okay, but you only get one final last quarter, so make sure that if it's really your true last quarter, that you've reviewed this information with your college or college advisor or your department to make sure that it is truly your final quarter here at UC San Diego and you're getting ready to graduate. Okay, academic reasons. Let's say that you registered for a course outside of your major. You thought you wanted to take a class in European history, and once you finally sit in class, you realize, yikes, European history is really, really hard because I'm actually a chemistry major. And I know nothing about European history, and this is very difficult and new for me, okay? So some of these are valid reasons for maybe dropping a course because you might not have enough prerequisites or information to really succeed in that class. So those are some reasons we might be able to allow you to drop for academic reasons. But let's say, like that student in our last myth, if he studied really hard but got a really bad grade on his midterm, and he's now scared of getting a bad grade in the class, that is definitely not a reason to drop the course, okay? So I see a lot of students who come in to talk to me and they're really scared. I just did really poorly on my midterm. They're crying. And they ask, can they drop the course? Unfortunately, though we sympathize with you that you did not do so well, we cannot allow you to drop the course, all right? Medical reasons. you were playing basketball or riding one of those bird things and you broke a leg. It's really hard for you to get to class, but your doctor writes you a note, says, you know, I think that this student should maybe take a quarter off and help their leg heal. Yes, we will allow you to drop a course if there is a doctor's note for a medical reason. Okay, and then lastly, of course, during the summer or any vacation or break terms, you're not required to enroll in any unit. So you can enroll in 0 units. Or just take 1 or 2 units if you'd like here to kind of get ahead for the year. But those are the 4 exceptions to taking less than 12 units. And it's really important that you remember that you can't just drop. You need to make sure that you have approval from ISPO before dropping. Okay. Okay. So now our next myth here is working illegally. Let's take a look.
I guess I can take random jobs like babysitting or driving Uber, since they're not real jobs anyways.
Ooh. Okay, what do you think? Can you take random jobs like babysitting or Uber? Can you drive for Uber? Can you babysit? That's false. Okay, so let's quickly talk about employment for international students. Okay, during your program of study, so while you're still enrolled taking classes here at UC San Diego, you can work on campus. You can also work off campus. Let's say you find a great off-campus job that's paid and they want you to intern for the summer or during the year. If you're an F-1 student, this is something called curricular practical training or CPT. It's a type of work authorization that we reflect on your Form I-20, saying that you are authorized to work for that specific employer. Okay, likewise, if you are on a J-1 visa, this is called academic training or AT. And this is also reflected on your immigration record and your DS 2019. So before you take any type of jobs, it's important to know what kind of authorization you'll need in order to start that job. Okay, so on campus, off campus, you can also engage in unpaid volunteer positions. So if you want to go out and help pick up trash on, on the beach here in La Jolla and things like that, maybe volunteer for a nearby church or non-profit organization, those are okay as well. Okay, after you graduate, you'll need to apply for a specific type of employment authorization in order to work here in the US, okay? For F-1 students, the work authorization is called Optional Practical Training or OPT. For J-1 students, it will be post-completion academic training, very similar to the type that you will apply for during your program, or AT. Something to note about on-campus employment. So on-campus employment is working for maybe the library, Geisel Library. Maybe you want to take a part-time job here at the bookstore. Maybe you are a TA or a GSR, graduate student researcher here for your lab if you're a graduate student. So those are types of on-campus employment. If you are an F-1 student, you do not need any type of work authorization to start working on campus. However, if you are a J-1 student, okay, can I see a quick show of hands? Raise your hand if you're a J-1 student. Ooh, we have a good number. Okay, for our J-1 students joining us today, before you start any type of work authorization on campus, you need to make sure that you come in to ISPO and apply for a specific type of on-campus letter authorization. So this needs to be done before you start working on campus, okay? This includes, again, GSRs, TA-ships, and anything that you might be doing on campus before or during your program of study. Okay. For off-campus employment, it needs to be authorized through either curricular practical training, CPT for F-1 students, or academic training, AT for J-1 students. It's important that you remember that you have to be enrolled in a specific internship course every quarter, and you must apply for CPT or academic training every quarter in order to work off campus, okay? So let's say you get a great job as a data analyst for Google or Microsoft. Okay, they're really interested in having you work for them part-time. If you'd like to apply for CPT or AT with Google, then you need to apply for work authorization every quarter, and you also need to be enrolled in an internship course every quarter. Okay, so if you have not yet registered or attended one of our Working in the U.S. workshops, there's a separate one for undergraduate students, another one for graduate students. Please register for those. We go into CPT and AT a little bit more in detail and talk about employment for international students as a whole. So please register for those workshops this week as well. In our last myth, why can't you take jobs like babysitting or driving Uber? Okay, because any type of off-campus employment job has to be related to your program of study. So I doubt any of you, and you can show me by raising your hand, I doubt any of you are majoring in Uber or majoring in babysitting. Okay. Someone raising their hand? Oh, I see. Oh, okay. Okay. A couple of you are majoring in babysitting. Great. Okay. And also because you're enrolled full-time during your program, off-campus employment is limited to part-time enrollment. So that is, part-time employment, which is 20 hours or less a week, okay? And you have to be maintaining your F-1 or J-1 status, meaning your I-20 and your DS-2019 should be active. All right, very brief overview of off-campus employment. Again, please come to our Working in the U.S. workshops throughout this week if you have any other questions about employment, okay? Let's take a look at our last myth here. Law of the land.
The legal age to drink and buy alcohol in my home country is 18, so I think that might be true in the U.S. also.
Okay. Is 18 the legal age to drink here in the U.S.? A few of you think that it might be. And you're wrong. So for those of you who think that 18 is a legal age to drink here in the U.S., I'm very sorry. It is not. The legal age to drink and consume and buy alcohol here in the United States is actually 21 years of age. So there are laws that might be different here in the U.S. than what you're used to back home, okay? So it's important to know the difference between what a state law is and what a federal law is. In the U.S., we have 50 different states, and so each state has their own law. There are also various laws that apply to the entire country or to all states. Okay, it's important to remember that as an international student, no matter what state you live in, you are subject to federal laws. Okay, so let's talk about a common law recently passed, the legalization of marijuana. Okay, legalization of marijuana is recognized as a state law here in California, meaning in the state of California, it is legal to purchase and partake in recreational use of marijuana. However, it is not legal in all other states, okay, meaning it is not a federal law. If you are an international student, and for some reason, I highly doubt this, but if you're ever caught partaking in the use of marijuana, though you're in California, you are still subject to federal law, meaning you may get in a lot of trouble and even lose your ability to remain here in the U.S. and study here at UC San Diego, despite the fact that we are in California, because marijuana is not recognized as a federal law. Okay, so it's important to recognize and know these rules and to make sure that you really just stay out of trouble. Okay, things like this that you do, that students, I know you want to have fun and really get to know the culture here in the U.S. and so forth, but just keep in mind about how your weekends might affect the rest of your program here at UC San Diego. Okay. So we are actually done for today. We've talked about our immigration documents and also those top 4 reasons why a lot of students fall out of status. A few reminders before we end today's session. If you have any questions from today's workshop, please come and visit us. Come visit me. I'd like to meet all of you in person if you have questions about the regulations we covered, you can always visit our website, istudents.ucsd.edu. And we cover all of this in depth, so please visit our website. If you have not already attended our coffee hours, they are so much fun. I'm looking outside my window now, and there are so many students outside enjoying games and so forth. Visit us. We are located in Student Center B, and here you'll see a picture of what our office looks like, so you can't miss us, okay? Couple of quick reminders. Again, coffee hours are from 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. this week. We have really cute postcards that I love, and I've seen so many students write mom, dad, or any family member, loved one, friends, a postcard, and you can just drop it off into one of our mailboxes and we'll mail it for you. So it's a great way to let family and friends know that you are having a great time and adjusting to campus really well. So come and see us. Okay. This event, Out of the Woods, is going to be held on Thursday, October 17th. And this is really for all new international students. We know that the next 2-3 weeks here will be very overwhelming. You might have so many questions, you don't even know where to start, okay? And instead of giving you the resources and the tools that you need now and today, come see us in a couple of weeks. Come see us at Out of the Woods, okay? And this is an event held at our office here at ISPO at Student Center B. And we want to answer any other questions that you haven't already figured out yourself in the first 3 weeks, okay? If you still have questions, you're still kind of having trouble fitting in, making friends, finding the right place on campus for you, we were going to have campus partners, resources, student organizations, and our advisors here to really help you and get you started for the rest of the quarter. So please come and see us on October 17th. After this workshop ends, you will get an email to register for this event, and it is capped at about 500 students. So we don't have room for much in our small forest here, but we'd love to see all of you. So please register. Okay, if you're an international undergraduate student or a first-year student, you have mom or dad or family members here with you, please have them register and attend the Parent and Family Orientation. It is on Sunday, September 22nd. Learn more at iOrientation.ucsd.edu. All right. Lastly, after you sign off and we part ways today, you're going to receive an email about today's workshop. I want to hear from you. I want to know what you thought about today. Did you learn everything that you thought that you were going to learn after today's workshop? Did I present the content well enough? Let me know what your feedback is, and I'd love to hear from you. Also, if you liked our myths and our videos that we shared with you today, follow us on Instagram, ispo.ucsd.edu. We do a lot of fun contests, giveaways, and we actually post a lot of reminders and of myths like this to really get you thinking about, what are you doing? Are you staying on top of your immigration status? Are you remembering everything? So follow us on Instagram, okay? And also on a weekly basis, if there are any type of immigration updates from the U.S. government or anything that might affect you or we think you should be aware of, we'll send you an update via email. So check your email every week for any of those immigration regulation updates, okay? So we're now at the end of our presentation, and I won't be able to take too many questions today. However, I do encourage all of you to please come in to our office, come meet our advisors, come meet me, and thank you all for joining us today. I hope you learned a lot, and I will see you all soon. Thanks, everyone.
Watch more webinars and attend in-person workshops by visiting iwebinars.ucsd.edu.